Yo, what is up everyone? The strongest legs in triathlon are here and I'm doing something a little different. Today I want to give you guys Sam Long's top 3 tips to improve your cycling. Almost my whole life on a bike and at least a full decade really committed to the art of being the best cyclist I can and also learning the science behind it, the training methods behind it, and really just the psychology behind it, everything about it. And so tip number 1 is to have a very, very clear purpose with everything you are heading out the door doing on the bike. Let's dive in and let's talk about pros first. Pros, we have a lot of time in our days, right? This is our living, and so we accumulate massive amounts of hours on the bike. Usually I'm riding about 15 hours a week. Now, for most age groupers, for most people working a regular job, that's just not gonna be possible. Certainly if you have a family, if you have kids, and even for me, you know, now that I have a kid at home, I'm having to get more succinct with my training, I'm having to get more efficient, and I'm having to get more purposeful. And so I've found that really for triathletes, you can do it with 3 rides because obviously you have to fit in bike, swimming, and running as well. So 3 rides. This is the weekly template I would do. I would normally do this on a Tuesday, a Thursday, and a Saturday. And ride number 1 would be a threshold-oriented ride. I would do this on Tuesday. I do this on Tuesday. We have lots of ideas of what that means. Let me give you a few examples. One of my favorites, I prefer to do over-unders. So that would be 12-minute repeats I do, and I go 3 minutes slightly above threshold or right at threshold, and then 3 minutes, basically 70.3 pace. And you switch that twice through for 1 repeat, and then I take 3 minutes rest, and I would build up to that 5 times. That's one of my favorite sets. But you could also do it something like, say on a climb, you could do 6 times 10 minutes with 4 minutes rest. You could do 4 times 15 minutes. There's tons of different ways you can break it up, and you should break it up over the season just to give a little variety, a little bit of spice of life. You could even go out and you could do, you know, a 30-minute really super hard time trial, and that would be your full threshold repeat. I think that's really your key workout of the week. That's your first focus. And then I like to say the second focus should be improving whatever your weakness is. And obviously you kind of have to know yourself. You have to maybe have a coach who can identify your weaknesses. But I really would say dedicating a day to that, not only focusing on your weaknesses, but also developing the capabilities beyond just what's required for the sport. You could say, all I have to get really good at is riding 70.3 watts, but I believe if you really want to expand what you're capable of, you need to push that whole network. So I would give that second ride of the week to working on a lot of different things, say low cadence work, VO2 work, fat burning, neuromuscular repeats, efficiency on the bike, so that could be single leg drills, kind of doing different stuff, cadence drills, so really high cadence. If you're bad at holding a high cadence, say you get on a descent and you're always feeling like, whoa, I need a bigger chain ring. Well, you might feel you need a bigger chain ring because you're not efficient at generating a high cadence. So that Thursday is dedicated to that. And if you're working, that's a great one on the trainer. There's tons of different things you can do for that on the trainer. The third ride of the week that I would recommend, now this is what I would recommend on a Saturday, is what I'm gonna call the Zone 2 ride. And I want to be clear, I think sometimes Zone 2 ride is mixed up with the coffee shop ride. This is also known as the long ride, and I think it can be done in the wrong way a lot of times if you're time limited. Again, so many of us, I think we go out, we ride 5 hours, we're talking with the buddies, and that's great if you have the time and it's fun and you've got the friends to go with, but there's a much more efficient way to do it. You can get it done in really only a few hours, and that's by riding at the upper end of Zone 2. It's the biggest zone. It's got such a big percentage of threshold of your VO2 max, and so if you ride at the top, you're gonna be working pretty hard. It's gonna be uncomfortable, and you're really gonna stimulate those mitochondria. It's actually quite a hard ride because it's like there's no escaping it. At the start, it's gonna feel good, but you're gonna get 2 hours in and you're gonna start to feel like, wow, this is quite hard, but the gains are really big. And again, you just build that up over time. And actually, that's the idea with all 3 of these, is you follow this structure, you progress over the season, and that Thursday ride where you're working on your weaknesses, that's the ride that kind of really changes, right? The focus can change, and that way you're giving your body different things. And honest to God, I think if you stick with these 3 things, you're gonna see a huge amount of improvement. And if you wanna ride the rest of the year, the rest of the week, you just get on and you can do some easy riding, or if you're a triathlete, I would recommend doing swimming and running. Tip number 2 to improve your cycling is to optimize the body and the machine, right? Obviously, we're the body, we're the human, and the machine is the bike. And we really think we so often think of biking just as, especially as triathletes, we just think, oh, what power are you pushing? And that it's just all about power. And then we maybe think about aerodynamics a little bit. And it's like, oh, well, how aero are you and how much power are you pushing? Well, I'm here to tell you, I think there's so much to it. If you think about guys like Wout van Aert or Tom Pidcock and these true pro tour guys, they are so good at riding a bike. They can get on a cyclocross bike, they can get on a TT bike, they can rip it downhill, they can do absolutely everything. And I believe the better you are at doing those things, the better you'll be at being a triathlete and time trialing. The brain is a muscle. The brain uses energy like anything else. Say if all you're ever doing is riding the trainer and then you get outside and you're not used to steering the bike, you're not sure how to balance on the bike, well, suddenly your brain is going to be using a lot of energy, which is the same thing as calories, to kind of balance yourself and just to think, and you're not going to have that same energy to put into the pedals. And that's at the most basic sense if you're only riding inside and you never get outside. But you can take it to a more extreme example, like say if you're mountain biking or you're getting on the gravel bike and you're getting your body used to how to handle bumps. All of this is going to increase how you pedal the bike. It's just going to increase your cycling efficiency. You know, you're going to corner better, you're going to be more relaxed, you're going to just sit on the bike better. A group ride is another fantastic example of this because you're going to have to react to other things. You're going to have to learn how to handle your bike. I do want to say though, if you don't have the skills to ride a bike in a group, you got to make sure you're learning those in a smaller group setting before you're heading out to like the local group ride. Finally, under this example, I'm going to include bike fit, right? Optimizing the machine and the body is, especially on the TT bike, making sure you've got your biomechanics right, making sure your aerodynamics are right, making sure all those details are looked after, that your hydration setup is there, that you know how to grab the hydration setup. And again, this isn't going to be a bike fit video, but my bike fit thoughts are that you should seek comfort over aerodynamics, but obviously still trying to be aerodynamic. But if you just put aerodynamics above all else, you will pay the price. So tip number 2 is optimize the body and the machine. And tip number 3, this is a mental tip. It's an approach to cycling, and it's a psychological way you have to approach the bike. And that is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Now, obviously not with the bike fit, but with how you approach the training. Here's why, right? The bike, it's low impact. You're not absorbing any impact like running, and you gotta be able to tolerate pain in your body and in your mind. Not pain that's gonna cause injury, but pain of like, this really hurts. So with this, I say like, obviously we've got the zones, but just think about it. If you can raise how much you're able to suffer in your brain, say you're going out and doing an FTP test, your threshold is therefore going to go up just there because you're actually able to push yourself harder. I think a great thing to do is you set like a time trial course. You set 2 landmarks. Now it could simply be a stop sign and a stoplight somewhere. It can be or it could be 2 buildings out in the middle of nowhere. Or it could be like, if you live in a big circle, it could be a circle around your neighborhood. And I found actually when I set that and it's like, okay, here I am, I'm doing this point to point, and I have to go as hard as I can, that I get way more out of myself if I say, okay, I'm gonna hold threshold for this the whole time. And you can also test this if you've ever used your bike computer and you set Strava live segments and you go after a KOM and it's like telling you you're close and you're gonna beat your PR, you almost always find more to get out of yourself. I really think that sometimes these zones, we hold ourselves back a little bit. Once again, as professionals, we're out there, we're training 30 hours a week, so there's a time to hold yourself back because so much of that is that. But if you're on the bike 6 hours a week, you need to get the most out of yourself when you're doing those intervals. And again, I know people are gonna maybe see this tip as like, I don't know, a little off, but I think if you really have to approach it that way, and you have to commit to it over time, and you'll learn your body through this, and you'll learn that you're capable of more, and you will improve. So get comfortable being uncomfortable for seconds, minutes, and hours, depending on the effort. Thank you for tuning in, and I am just really honored to offer you all the information I've learned over 20 plus years spent on a bike in the most succinct way possible. Maybe some of it's for you, maybe some of it's not for you. I hope you get out, and I hope it can help you improve. And please let the community know here down in the comments what you thought was helpful, what was maybe not so helpful, and cheers and yo, yo, yo.